Good day, great day. This is For Another Day podcast, where we talk about the key components of a healthy Christian relationship with myself, Rick Zapf. Today's segment I labeled Coaching Reassurances, Making It Happen. Now, you might be wondering what exactly happens in the coaching process. I've had this for all the years from doing marriage and family therapy to doing coaching with careers and relationships and even with spirituality. And so one of the things that typically will happen is people come with an unknown. Clients just aren't sure what the process looks like, what really happens in the session, if we have some magic ability to change their minds or even to change their lives. Do we have a crystal ball that we're able to look through to know what's in their future? And truly none of that is real. I even had one time when I was doing marriage and family therapy. I had a client come in and I was going through the informed consent, which is the paperwork at the beginning, and just trying to reassure them kind of what we were going to be doing in the process. And all of a sudden she gave me this head tilt and this inquisitive look, and she kept looking. And I kept going through the paperwork, but I was paying attention to her, and she kept looking with this look of questioning. And I was like, do you have a question about the paperwork? And she relayed it back. She was like, no. She just had that look. And I said, well, what is it? And she was like, well, are you going to start this session by cleansing my aura? Because the last therapist tried to do that and I walked out. And I couldn't help but giggle and laugh. I was like, no, I don't do that here. But you see, people come in with different expectations, knowledge base, history of experiences, and not really sure kind of what this process is going to look like. If this coaching is really 80% about behavioral rather than 20% about real choices, it's just trying to give you as the client the reassurances, and if you needed a few tools along the way to be able to help get change happening. And so today what I was hoping to do was kind of give you like a little bit of a session 1, session 2 recap for what happens in most coaching sessions. And maybe by listening to this, you'll have a little more reassurance going into it. Now, everyone's a little bit differently, but this is kind of my style for where I approach it and really try to make a difference. Now, I have to say, this isn't the way that I would do it for, let's say, financial coaching, right? Where we really try to sit down with a budget and sit down, look at finances and look at numbers and crunch them and make sure that there is money in savings and that you are able to pay your bills and that things can happen positively in your lifestyle, right? That's what financial coaching is. But this one tends to deal a lot more with like relationships and goal setting and trending and where you're really looking at coming with it. So, that first session there, and this is after, initial paperwork and intake and making sure that we're just a right fit. And I try to do that with them because I try to be open and honest and transparent. It's like, no, I don't really have that skill set. No, I really don't have that experience. Oh, I've been able to help others with that before. And that's that reassurance, that phone consult right at the beginning, just to making sure that we fit. Because I don't want to get into a contractual agreement with a client and not be able to provide services. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here, in this journey to be able to to truly give the best product that I can give and be able to help the client with the best that they're able to need. And so here, even after that first phone consult that I would do, to making sure that we're a right fit, this is really about getting to know you. And and it's not just like, oh, where are you from, where'd you grow up, that type of getting to know you. It's a lot more. It's a lot more than just your past. Because, where and how you're living right now dictates a lot more than where you were, 10 years ago or 3 years old when you were growing up. Now, if you really wanted to dive deep into that, usually I'll set it with clients to let them know that sometimes counseling is a better choice for something like that, where you can really dive deep. This is about giving a little octane booster to your life and getting you just propelled a little bit further down the road. Not like we're broken down on the side of the road and we can't get out of the ditch and we're just stuck, right? This is just to help kind of push you to the next level. And sometimes that takes a person to help encouraging you, to help push you a little bit. But this is where we look at your strengths. This is where we look at what strengths you really truly have, characteristics that you have, that maybe some of those have just fallen by the wayside and they haven't been used. It's like the tool in the bottom of the toolbox, right? We kind of have ignored it because there's so many tools on top of it. But there is still those aspects of us that make us us. I would never, in probably a million years, give up that characteristic that I have a truly nurturing and caring heart, right? It doesn't matter what job or career I've ever been in, I've always had that caring heart. And so, that part of myself, that's not going to change. But if so much stuff has gotten piled on top of it and you don't realize that, don't really examine it, then it's not going to play a key role factor as compared to other things. But if you're looking at those strengths, you're also going to look at what isn't changing, right? And it's like, okay, what's one small goal then that we can set for today? What are we looking at changing? And really, you have to look at it as saying it's very actionable. Nothing huge, right? Not going too fast, or even too hard, or even causing more harm than good. But what we're really looking at here is setting one small goal that maybe can be achieved by the next time we would visit, or even within a week. That some sort of change could happen. A measurable change is going to happen. And if we can't figure out the 3 or 4 steps to get to that goal, that's where the coach comes in to play here. It's like, here, let me give you 3 steps that might help for you to be able to achieve that goal. And this is where we together figure out the buy-in. You might be like, I can't make it that far, that hard. I don't think I could do those steps in order to get there. Okay? So what steps can you take? What steps would it take so that you would have the reassurance that when we met next time, you could be able to say, with success, Rick, guess what? Like, I just didn't do it twice last week. I actually did it 3 times last week, right? And so that's where that second session usually comes into play. Remember, these sessions are, depending upon who you work with, 45 minutes, 60 minutes, 75 minutes, they're not an all-day thing. They are time limited, but believe me, time flies. It's not time flies when you're having fun, but time flies when it comes to this work, this understanding, the stories that you have to be able to tell. And so that usually ends out, a first session. Usually that's pretty good. Because typically clients have a lot that they want to share with you. And they feel bad too. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this before, but I've had this often that, oh, I'm sorry, I don't mean to dump all this on you. And it's like, no. Dump away. And I usually say, dump all the puzzle pieces on top of the table. I'll sort them out. I'll look through them later and figure out if they fit or don't. And if it's a corner piece and it's easy, it's like, hey, I'll take that and let you know. But it's one where, for yourself, that it's okay. It's okay to incorporate somebody else into this process called life. And so that second session of coaching, it can be anywhere from a week later. Usually, I don't recommend doing twice a week. I mean, if you're working on multiple things and you're really wanting a check-in basis, usually after the first time, 2 weeks to start off with, and then going out to a month to put a little bit more lived experience in there. I like to be able to have clients with lived experience rather than coming back and saying, oh, I wasn't able to, or I did. And that's where, too, I like it to be a lot more interactive. That was the company name of our first company that my wife and I had together, was Interactive. And I do like that sense. It's like, if you started down the path and you're like, I can't get past that first step, I want my clients texting me. I want them telling me, hey, can we change up the steps a little bit? Because I want you to achieve success. I want you to make it to that goal. And sometimes it just takes tweaking it just a little bit for you to have that reassurance. And so, here it's like this becomes a very interactive sense that it's dynamic, it's fluid, it's willing to change, and it's nothing that's written in stone like it's the commandments, okay? And even when I work with couples, right? I really truly like that we have 2-3 weeks at least between us, because you've got to have some lived experiences in there. And we are so busy in today's lives that we oftentimes just don't have that. And I'd rather have greater time between sessions rather than coming back and saying, hey, Rick, guess what? He was gone on a business trip this week, and we really didn't have time to sit down and talk through whatever it might have been. And so that second coaching session, when we schedule it, really looking at what I usually consider a micro and macro exam. It's like, okay, where were the little successes? Where were the little trials, tribulations, failures? And where did change really occur? And it can be good change, it can be bad change, it can be neutral change, right? But it's like, where did change actually occur? And you'd be surprised when you start looking at the change, the mentality and the frame of mind goes from, oh, I can't or I won't, to a different mindset. And this is the time too that, I will get out my pom poms and cheer you on. And I do that, throughout the sessions, but here really the second time, because you need that little burst of encouragement. It's like, the first time when you went to go work out and you made it just twice to the gym, and you had this goal for 5 times that week, I will get out my pom poms and cheer you on, because twice a week was more than no times a week. What's been happening for month after month, and you were just sitting on the couch and unsure how to really make it happen. But I also try to encourage people too. It's like, in this process, who is going to come and cheer you on? Who is going to be alongside you during the marathon to cheer you on, and to keep you going, and to put a little smirk and smile on your face, to know that you've got the support of others in this process. When you're cheerleading to success. You're not cheerleading when it comes to failure or inability. You're truly cheerleading for success. And sometimes you've got to go ahead and stage those cheerleading moments, right? Football, the third down, the cheerleaders are usually there and cheering on defense, they know what needs to be said at certain times. So they're not like, don't drop the ball, don't drop the ball. They're not saying that. They're not looking at the mistakes. They're looking at how to build in those successes. And so if we have to kind of stage it and put these life moments in there, it's kind of like those water stops along a marathon, where you can grab a cup of water to rehydrate and keep going. We need to have those in our lives. And usually a coaching session ends up to be like those water moments, where it gives you a little bit more revitalization. It gives you a little bit more direction and push. It gives you the ability to keep going and not just sit down on the curb and say, I'm done. That's not what this coaching process can be. And so in the second session, usually we're looking at, like I said, that micro and macro exam and some pom pom time in there, and just really truly trying to make a difference in your life. And today this is just a small kind of glimpse into what typically happens. And I'm trying to do this to give you the reassurance to try it, to try coaching, even to try counseling. If you're at a broken spot where you need serious help, it's like, no, seek it out. Mental health wise, seek it out for change here to happen, and for a fix. Don't just let the engine light keep going, and all of a sudden you're going to have a car that's just seized up on the side of the road that can't do anything. Right? It's like we've got to get in and do some routine maintenance, maybe an oil change like coaching, or maybe an engine overhaul, 60,000 mile checkup like a counseling session. But all the attempts here to really truly make it happen. So hopefully this gives you a reassurance today. If you have questions, as always, you can always comment in the section down below. You can text me at thecommandmentscoaching.com. Any of those sites that I have, that I'm trying to truly just give you some basic information here to help you make change happen in your life. Okay? So as usual, God love you all, and have a wonderful week. So I went online to look, just curious what the internet would say. What are 15 top characteristics to look for when dating a Christian man? There was an interesting compilation, but for the most part, it kind of held true that there was a lot of similarities between the lists. So I came up with 15 top characteristics here when dating a Christian man. So let's look at these here. A strong faith in God. So if you're putting God first, of course, it becomes one that He is the most important, and this person that you're dating becomes number two. It's not putting the dating person first, and it's not letting that person get in the way of you having that relationship with God either. Humility. So humility is very important, so that you go ahead and you're really able to share and be one another's servant, have the servant heart. If you're willing to have that humility, and really listen to the other person, listen to the other person's needs, not just guessing what they need, but truly listening. And when it's not necessarily what you want to be doing, but you can service them and give a need to them, that's truly humility. Kindness. Kindness is one that's really important, that you can go ahead and easily share, you would think, in a dating relationship. A little bit harder when the rocky road starts, because you will have disagreements, but it's, can you exhibit kindness to one another and also not exhibit the anger that can come when kindness is not there. Honesty. Honesty is so very important when you're looking for those top characteristics for a Christian man. So is he willing to share with you, even though it might mean that you'll get upset, you could break it off with him. It's a true testament of faith, willing to be open and honest with the other person through thick and thin. Respect for others. Now, of course, when you look at respect for others, it really takes a moment to understand what the other person's background and history is. Because that background and history will leave them a little bit gun-shy or scarred from previous relationships. But if you can respect the boundaries, if you can respect one another, it really puts a better direction to a dating relationship. A good sense of humor. Yes. You need to be able to laugh together, care for one another, cry together with laughter, tears. And so a good sense of humor is always appreciated. A positive attitude. If you've got a Debbie Downer or an inspector number 12 that always looks at the negative, that can be a challenge. So looking for someone with a positive attitude, or if they are the glass half empty type, can they at least be able to acknowledge that there's water in the glass and that there is some positive also in the glass. A willingness to communicate and listen. And this one is really important. And this is where I help a lot of young couples. Just learning each other's style in communication and really being able to learn to reflect, listen, use I statements, really come at it with a different mode than what they've always been used to. Especially when one person might be a little more dominated and a little more extroverted. Being and having a willingness to communicate and listen is so very important. You know, what is it? You've got 2 ears but only 1 mouth, right? A desire for personal growth. You don't want to be looking at someone who's just stagnated, that's like, I'm fine with where I'm at. You're looking for someone who's wanting to grow and change in a relationship, grow and change in their career, grow and change in their other relationships with people. So it really shows that that is one of those top characteristics for a Christian man. Commitment to serving others, and this can play a factor in community, but it can also play a factor in church. And so if you're looking for a Christian man with similar values, they're going to want to take on that commitment to serving others, and maybe you can serve together and build a different sort of bond that's there. and maybe it'll make a difference for finding that right person. An ability to forgive. It's another top characteristic there that it really goes back to that humility part, a willingness to lay it all down, a willingness to say, I'm sorry. Now, you're not condoning what happened, right? That's not forgiveness. But what you're truly looking for is that repentance or that element of change. And so here it's like, if you can find someone that is willing to say, I'm sorry, will you forgive me? I'll try again, I'll do better, I'll change. That is what is a great part of finding someone that has these characteristics. I'm looking at the next one, a healthy work-life balance. This one, once again, when you're focused so often on your career after education, having that work-life balance, you need to make each other a priority. And if the phone is more of a priority, we're not even talking about work-life balance, but if the phone is more of a priority, put it face down on the front of the table when y'all are at dinner, rather than picking it up and pulling it. And I've seen this way too many times out at restaurants. It's like, put the phone away and truly be present to one another. A willingness to take responsibility. Right there, it says it. Willingness to buck up a level and say, I'm willing to take this on. I'll take the lead even on this. I'll go ahead and do this for you. Now, once again, we're talking about not setting Olympic heights here on standards. These are just 15 top characteristics that women, you should be looking for in Christian men. And men, you should take this list and write it on the wall and be able to work on achieving these top 15 characteristics, because it is so very important. Don't take the easy way out, the passive way out. Guys, step up here. A desire for a marriage and a family. So if you have someone that's not even sure about dating, not even sure about what marriage looks like, talk about these things, because a marriage is a commitment. It's a sacramental union between God and both of you. And we've gotten past, we've just let that one slide. We've let it go to legalistic. And, if you truly believe that this is a commitment between you two and God, then it's going to stick and stay. It really is. And statistics show it hands down. If you're able to make that commitment to God and to one another, the relationship has a lot higher success rate. Some studies show 62% rather than 48%. Some have even showed as high as 82%. So, once again, taking that commitment here for marriage and for a family. I mean, the ultimate for a family is procreation. You two are able to make and create someone together. It's on the same realm as of God here, because for everything that He's created, we are here and able to do this. So, a desire for marriage and family. And lastly here, a commitment to purity. And this one today, of course, has gotten so out of whack with society and with beliefs. Really want to encourage you, look for how to make a commitment to purity within the relationship, and to really make what you two share together the most important. So, these were just 15 different characteristics, that I was able to kind of compile. But women, you should be looking for this. You should set the bar high. I'm not saying too high, but I'm not saying just take anything it won't even go over the bar. It's like, I just need someone. If you're that low on your personal self-esteem and you're just willing to take anything, then we need to talk. We need to talk about building you up. We need to talk about who you are as a person and what you're able to give. once again, that's a lot of coaching. That's a lot of, taking your sense of self and building upon it and building upon change and building upon positive change. That's what I'm here for. So, once again, reach out to me, message me at the bottom, go to commandmentscoaching.com, message me. I'm here to answer your questions. I'm here to help your relationships and make a difference. So God love you all and have a wonderful week.